What if I told you that heroes were not born on the battlefield, but from somewhere else your empire's fate was sealed? What if, instead of carrying the battle axe, your nation's heroes carried a pickaxe? What if instead of training in arms, they plowed and they seeded farms? What if instead of leading the attack, they went by the trade lumberjack? Knights and soldiers may hog the glory, but today we'll tell another story. Without the humble townspeople of your village, there would be no one to conquer and pillage. And yet war, that terrible engine of great expense, too often claims the lives of those who pay its rents. In this video, we'll pay homage to the miners, farmers, foragers, anglers, and lumberjacks who put your empire upon their backs. So stay a while, but don't let your mind go idle, as we rank the best economies of Age of Empires 2 DE. Howdy y'all, it's your boy Jimmy James 59, and I have a really cool tier list for you today. We're going to be ranking the best economies in Age of Empires 2 DE. This is the kind of tier list that can inspire a variety of opinions and a lot of debate. So at the end of the day, these are all my opinion. I'm going to try to make it an informed opinion, but if you agree, disagree, or have an alternative viewpoint you would like to share with me, the other viewers, go ahead, leave that in the comment section below, and hopefully we can get a good discussion going. Now, sellout mode activated. If you like the video, go ahead, give us a thumbs up. If you like the kind of content we put out on this channel, then go ahead, give us the follow, and that way you can be notified, especially if you hit that notification bell, then you'll be notified anytime we put out new content. And I'm really doing this and putting these videos on YouTube so that way we can keep this game alive, we can educate the future generations, and also have good debates and analysis among ourselves, because the one thing that I've learned playing Age of Empires is that I always have something more to learn. So that's what this kind of video is about, and we're going to go ahead and jump into it. So sellout mode deactivated. Let's get into the tier list. Now, it can be tough to compare the economies in Age of Empires because there are just so many, and there are a lot of different types of economic bonuses. So I do have a short list that I'm going to share with you that structures my thinking a bit. And the economic considerations are to the gather or the collection rate bonuses of resources in Age of Empires 2 DE, any kind of free resources that you might start off with when the game begins, free economic upgrades. Now, here's where things get a bit tricky, where there's some controversy regarding military unit or technology upgrades and whether or not they are discounts. Well, okay, there's not a controversy whether they're discount, but they are controversial in that they are economic bonuses. My view of this is that they are, because even if you have a... Well, let me actually state out the position for why people think that they're not economic bonuses. Let's say you have a bonus where you have cheaper knights. Okay, well, that bonus is only helping you if you're making knights, right? And so that's a reason to consider it not an economic bonus, but a military bonus. However, right, compared to a generic civilization with no knight bonus, the civilization with cheaper knights actually needs a smaller economy in order to sustain the same size of military as a generic civ. So it is an economic bonus, it's just an indirect one. So I'm going to consider it, I'm not going to rank it. This isn't really a ranking of considerations. It's not an ordinal list here, but I am going to consider military unit, some technology upgrades, maybe in a lesser role. It kind of depends on the technology upgrade. We'll talk about that. I will consider some of the economic upgrades from the resource camps. I think it's a lot more marginal though, so it's not a strong factor. Having all of the wood chopping upgrades can be pretty good, but in most cases, just having the first two is sufficient. The same thing goes with the farming upgrades. Whether or not you have crop rotation for your farms, maybe not the biggest deal. For some civilizations, it is, though, and that's one of the reasons I'm mentioning all of this. Some civilizations really benefit from those, and we'll talk about them. The mining camp upgrades as well. I think the gold bonus that you can get in Castle Age, being able to have that can be pretty helpful. For the stone, I don't think it's normally as helpful. So again, it's a marginal consideration. And then considering any miscellaneous or just really unique civilization eco bonuses, we'll go ahead factor that in. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and jump into our tier list. Gonna go ahead, bring up my notes, took a few notes on this, and okay, let's go. So we're gonna start off with Aztecs, and for me, there's really no question about it. Aztecs are an S tier economy. Your villagers have a faster work rate from the start of the game, so that's benefiting you the whole game. And those early economic bonuses, I think we do have to rank them a bit higher. And I say that for two reasons, kind of backing up a little bit. Having bonuses that affect from the beginning of the game, well, you have to think about it. Most games don't make it that deep into Imperial Age. A lot of games don't even make it that deep into Castle Age. However, virtually all games have a Feudal Age, and every game is a Dark Age. So if you have a bonus that is only a Castle Age and Beyond bonus, there's a good chance that we're not even seeing its effect on the game. But if you have a bonus from the very jump of the game, right, it's having an effect. So we're going to rank those a little bit higher here. And the faster work rate is great. It affects basically every sector of your economy. Not only that, but you start off with an extra 50 gold. This can be really, really helpful to enable you to do some cool things with your military, like going 4 men-at-arms in an opening. And again, right, so this is kind of a military bonus here, I would say. It might help you on, say, a closed map like Arena, if you're trying to get a really fast castle age time because you don't need to collect as much gold in your fast castle build. So, and also, right, in a third bonus is that your relics, and this is a team bonus, by the way, your relics generate, I think it's 33% more gold. This is really, really nice. American civs are extremely dependent on their gold units, so for the Aztecs to get a bonus like that, very helpful, easy S tier. Okay, now if we look at the Berbers, I think I gotta put Berbers in the D tier. You do have cheaper stable units starting from Castle Age and going into Imperial Age. So your camels, your hussars, your knights are all a bit cheaper. But that's a bit about it, and you're only getting it in Castle Age, so it's not really going to be affecting your Dark or Feudal Age at all. And other than that, you do have a faster walking speed on your villagers. I think that although that does marginally affect your collection rates, it's probably helping your economy more by just allowing your vills to run away from your opponent's units if you're being rushed. So it's kind of marginal. Now, Bohemians are pretty interesting. I think I'm going to put Bohemians in the A tier. You get free mining camp upgrades. You also, your monastery, well, Fervor and Sanctity benefit villagers, and I know one of those increases your villager HP, and the other increases their movement speed by 15%. Because normally that's just for monks, but Bohemians, their villagers benefit from it, right? So that can be really strong. Now, that's going to be a Castle Age and Beyond bonus, and you have to buy it too, so it's probably not, it might not be an immediate bonus, right? You have to get the monastery up, you have to research it, and that's going to cost you, I believe, some gold to get that. So, you know, Once you get it, it's pretty good, but it's really only helping you from Castle Age and beyond. The free mining upgrades are nice. They can help you get gold faster and also stone if for some reason you're going that route. I also want to say with the Bohemians that their team bonus is that markets work faster, right? I'm going to have to check that on the fly here, but I'm pretty sure that is a bonus. Yeah, markets work faster. This can be a really nice economic bonus in team games. In fact, it can be very strong in team games. Okay, now I got to rethink this a little bit because I wasn't thinking about that. You also have cheaper blacksmiths, universities, and markets. Wait, no, cheaper blacksmith universities and monasteries, excuse me, not markets. That's a different civ. Man, I don't know now. The trade bonus is really, really nice because Bohemians are not really that strong of a team game civ in terms of their units. I still think it's an A tier. I still think it's an A tier economy. I'll say it this way. I think in closed maps it's S tier. I think in team games it's borderline S tier. The reason I'm still holding it back is it's just the market working faster is much more of a mid to post imperial bonus when you're trying to get trade carts out. And again, the game has to actually get there. So there's a lot of games where you're not even seeing the effect of it. I still think it's an A tier civ in terms of their eco. The free mining upgrades are really nice, really for more open maps. That's really just good for your gold, at least in Feudal Age. Once you get into Castle Age, it can be really, really strong. I mean, this is a civ from Castle Age onward. I think that the economy is S tier. But from Dark Age and Feudal Age, it's a generic Dark Age, and again, think about it this way. If you're going for scouts as Bohemians for some reason, right, you're not taking advantage of that gold mining upgrade until 14 to 16 farms into the Feudal Age. So I think it's an A tier, but depending on the map type can be an S tier. Next up we have the Britons, and I gotta say, I gotta put Britons into the S tier. We have two economic bonuses, both of which are very strong. Your sheep are harvested faster. This is a Dark Age bonus. It helps you out particularly on maps where maybe that there's a lot of sheep actually. Ghost Lake, that kind of place. Golden Swamp, where you have they're not yaks, they're buffalo. I think they're buffalo. And they have a lot more food on them. That can help as well. Maybe something like Lombardia. I think that there's some you might have more cows or something like that. Or maybe instead of sheep, you always have cows. I forget, right? But there are maps where sheep is a big deal. Mega Random has a lot of generations that are like that too. The point here for Britons, right, is that this is a Dark Age bonus. It can enable you to get some great uptime, to get your villagers on wood more quickly, and it's just a great bonus. Now, that's not the only one. You also have a bonus where the wood cost on your town centers is reduced by 50%. Town centers, the wood cost really is the driving cost factor there. And so with Britons, getting that discount means that you're a unique civ in that you can kind of boom and make military at the same time. So those two bonuses are very strong. They're going to be strong on any map type. S tier for me. Now, right, the Bulgarians, think about Bulgarian town centers. They're kind of the opposite of Britons. They have a minus 50% stone discount on the town centers. That's not as good of a bonus as Britons, and I'm going to tell you why. The fact that you save 100 stone, say if you're getting to Castle Age and dropping 3 TCs, and dropping 2 TCs so you're on 3, it's not really helping you because you start off with 200 stone. With Bulgarians, you just have some stone left over. Now, you might say, well, maybe you could drop 4 town centers, but you're probably not going to have the wood to afford it. And even if for some reason you did, you're probably not going to have the wood for the farms to support running those town centers in a continuous manner. So you're going to have idle town center time, and it's probably not worth your while. I think it's an okay bonus, but it's not great. You do have some upgrades at the siege workshop and the blacksmith that cost less food. That can be great. I think it's more impactful of your military. It's not really turboing your economy. Taking a moment to hydrate there. So Bulgarians are a D tier economy for me. Now, Burgundians for me, easy S tier. Burgundian economy is amazing, right? You get a 50% discount on your economic upgrades. That's a pretty good bonus already. You can also research them and age early. That's mind-boggling. Right? That's mind-boggling. So you can collect a lot of resources with Burgundians, and you can get them in age early. It's fantastic. Not only that, but their relics generate food, which is pretty cool. And you have a Castle Age technology that makes your farms generate gold. So this is a civilization that has economic bonuses throughout the game, and it's like each time you get to the next age, it's like you have more economic bonuses. So it's a really good one. In my opinion here, folks, I think Burgundians have the best economy in the game. Hate me if you want, agree with me if you want, go ahead, and you can let me know in the comments. But yeah, if I had an S plus tier, I think Burgundians would probably be the only civilization in it. Spoiler alert, but there's no S plus tier, so gonna have to chill with the Britons and the Aztecs for the Burgundians, and so they have good company. I imagine that both of those civs would be a good hang. Now, okay, moving on, we're gonna talk about the Burmese. The Burmese, I gotta put the Burmese, I think, in the C tier. You have free wood chopping upgrades. That's pretty good. But the thing about the wood upgrades is it's usually the first thing you research when you get to an age in most cases. So you're not really getting a influential bump to how much wood you're going to collect, but you are saving on the research cost and a little bit of time. So it's a small bump. I just don't think that's very game changing here. So it's good. I think it's better than, Bulgarians and the stone discount and stuff like that on the TCs, but it's just not a game changer here. So I gotta say it's C tier. All right, next up we have the Byzantines. Byzantines, I gotta put them into the D tier. So you have two bonuses here. One's a very strong military discount on skirmishers, spears, and camels. That's very good, actually. And with Byzantines, you probably are making at least one of those units in the game. And it's a 25% discount, which is very strong. But again, it only matters if you're going for them. And the cheaper Imperial Age is the other Byzantine bonus. I think it's a 33% cheaper Imperial Age. And that is very strong in terms of enabling you to go for, say, like a fast Arbalist play. But it's not really turboing your economy. And hey, the game could be over before you even have a chance to take advantage of it. So I think it's a D tier. And I just think the cheaper Imperial Age is not the best economic bonus. I think in some cases it can even be detrimental, because if you're not using it right, you could get to Imperial Age and you don't have the resources to research what you need. And if you're in that position, it was basically just time at your town center where you could have been making villagers and you didn't. So it's a tricky one. And because of that, I think they got to go in the D tier. Okay, now the Celts. Celts really only have one economic bonus, but it is so good, right? Celts have a 15% increase on their lumberjacks collection rate from the start of the game. It's one of the most powerful Dark Age bonuses in the game, one of the most powerful feudal age bonuses in the game, one of the most powerful castle age bonuses, I think. It does fall off a bit in Imperial Age because you miss the last wood upgrade. And so if the civilization has it, they can come close to the Celt wood collection rate. Celts are still going to be a little bit better in that. I think about like 5% better or something like that. So it does taper off, but it is very strong. It enables you to do some great things. It is one of the reasons, for instance, that Celts, despite the fact that from mid-Castle Age onward, their foot archers are not very good, Celts have a very strong archer rush potential in Feudal Age, and for men-at-arms and archers and those kind of openings, it's really, really nice. So it's very good. It helps you get your farms down. And so, yeah, it's just a great bonus. So to me, even though it's really the only bonus, yeah, they have the sheep conversion bonus. That's a little more meme worthy, I think, than anything. So Celts for me, easy S tier. Chinese. Chinese, I think, are another one that is S tier. They have this really awkward start where they're missing a bunch of resources. Like, I think it's like minus 200 food. I think you're minus a bit of wood. I don't have the exact numbers in my head. But basically, if you can figure out how to master their start, you wind up having anywhere from 1 to 2 extra villagers once you get to Feudal Age versus an opponent. That can be very strong and snowball pretty quickly. So it's a pretty good bonus for Chinese. Not only that, but you do get cheaper technologies through the ages. So this should help you in, some ways more economically, some ways a bit more militarily. But again, it is going to be helping you no matter what you do. And so we got to rank that a lot stronger, actually, than just sort of a standard, military bonus. I think it goes something like 10% Feudal Age, 15 in Castle Age, and 20 in Imperial Age. So it is a bit of a sliding scale, but you're going to be researching technologies throughout the game anyways, right? No matter what strategy you're going to go for, it's going to help you. So it's a really good bonus, and I think it puts Chinese into the S tier. All right, next up we have the Cumans. The Cumans are very, very interesting. I rank the Cumans a bit lower economically than perhaps other people do. But hear me out on this. So the Cumans' big economic claim to fame is that they can make a town center in Feudal Age. And that can be a very, very strong play. But it's only a strong play if you do it. And so it's just one of those things. If the game doesn't call for a 2-town center boom, then, so for instance, let's say you're in a team game, right? In team game meta, you should be making scouts. Well, it's going to be kind of hard to do on a 2-town center boom. You may fall behind in scout numbers and your ally dies, right? And so if you don't do it, then you're really not getting the bonus. Now, you do have a cost savings on your archery ranges in your stables. Again, it's kind of more of a military bonus because it's, on your military production buildings. So it's got to factor in a little bit here, and I am. But I think it's B tier. I think the fact that 2TC boom can be so strong that it can win some games, right? Particularly if an opponent doesn't know how to deal with it, actually. And it can be awkward to deal with, especially nowadays, with the fact that the Cumans can get to multiple stables or multiple ranges so quickly. So it's good. I think it's pretty good. Not quite A tier, though. All right, a little bit below. Next up, we have the Ethiopians, and I'll put the Ethiopians in the B tier alongside them. For the Ethiopians, your economic bonus, you have kind of two. You get 100 food and 100 gold as you age up. This is very strong for early feudal, decent for early castle. It's not really changing the game much in Imp. It becomes kind of a modest bonus, I think, maybe by Castle Age, but definitely by Imperial Age. So it helps you with the margins, and for feudal age, it's really, really good and can enable you to do some interesting builds to manipulate it. But it just tapers off. Now, you also get the pikeman upgrade for free. That can be very strong as well because getting that in Castle Age is kind of expensive based on what your economy looks like. So it can be a real good convenience factor for actually protecting your economy, say from night raids and that sort of thing. So I think it's a little more of an indirect bonus, but I do think it helps their economy, and I think ultimately it is kind of a B tier economy. Okay, next up, we have the Franks. And for me, Franks are going to be more of an A tier economy. So your foragers on your berries collect faster, right? Very nice Dark Age bonus, and very nice early to mid feudal bonus. And at that point, you're probably not foraging berries. So it doesn't affect the entire game, but it does affect the early game, which is probably the most important part of the game. Now, you also get all of your farming upgrades for free. So that's a pretty strong bonus, but the reason this is A tier is because, well, one, foraging is already kind of slow as a bonus. Berries are one of the least quickly collected food resources in the game. And two, the farm upgrades are mainly helping you more with a scouts and a knights build. If you're going, let's say, for Castle Age crossbow for some reason, you would actually want your farms to expire during the transition from feudal age to Castle Age so that you can have more lumberjacks to, say, maybe go on 3 TCs or get another range up or keep pumping out crossbows, any one of those things. So I do think it's more of an A tier. Now, the Franks also do get pretty cheap castles. That can be a really, really nice bonus. But again, it's only if you're making castles. And at some point in the game, you are going to be making castles. So if I had an A plus tier in this list, I think I might put Franks on it. But for me, it's really good, but it's just not in the same level as the S tier civs. Right? So there we go. Next up, we have the Goths, and Goths are tricky. I think Goths are D tier. Goths are just a very, very difficult civilization to compare in general. So you can research Loom basically in an instant. I think it's like 2 in-game seconds, which can allow you to get the villager ahead, or, well, rather, to go up on a population with basically an extra villager is the idea. Now, you also have much cheaper infantry. I think it's cheaper as the ages go onward. That's pretty good, and you are probably making infantry with Goths, so that cheaper infantry is really going to help you make that more affordable. It's a nice bonus, but that's about it. And killing the hunt faster and carrying more hunt, I actually think that's oftentimes more of a curse than it is a benefit, because if you're not playing Goths a lot, sometimes you wind up doing some really weird boar lores where it's maybe not under the TC, and you often have to force drop off food with Goths, and so you have to pay more attention to your villagers in Dark Age with them, and I find that can be more frustrating than anything else. So Goths, I think, are one of the few civilizations that kind of take a, it's not a hit to their economy in Dark Age with that, but I just don't think it's a bonus. I think it's more of a curse. But the cheaper infantry is very, very good, and I think that the instant loom bonus probably doesn't get as much credit it deserves, because it's kind of like the Mayan bonus, but the difference is that you are having to spend that food on a villager, whereas, say, it's like the Mayans that get that extra villager for free. That's a lot better. So you're still, the fact that you're still having to spend the food on it is kind of a bummer. And I think that for me, if you got that villager for free, well, I mean, that would just be a great bonus. But But yeah, I think I would say maybe it's borderline C tier, more because of the way Goth games tend to play out. I mean, I'm trying to think of any Goth game where you're not just making infantry. I think I'm going to go on the fly here, actually. I'm going to make a controversial move, I think, and put Goths into C tier. Because I just can't foresee any circumstance with Goths. They're such a weird civ. I mean, like a lovable, weird civ. But you're always going to be making infantry. And the fact that you have that bonus and Goth infantry spam can just be so deadly. And I just can't imagine any world where you're making archers or knights beyond just a few of them. And you're getting the infantry bonus from Dark Age now. And so Goths can do some really weird stuff. Again, it's more of a military bonus, but you can do those weird things in Dark Age because you don't need the big economy to, say, go with the forward barracks and pump out lots of weird units. So, you know what? I want to go ahead. I think Goth economy is a little underrated if you consider the way that Goths are played in virtually all games. Well, in virtually all open map games, right? I think if we're talking closed maps, I think it goes back to being a D tier economy, maybe even F tier. Open maps like Arabia, I'd be willing to, I think that C tier is there. And if it's going to be between C and D, I'll bump them up a slot, right? So go Goths. Okay, next up we have the Huns. And Huns are an interesting economy too. I think I gotta put Huns into the A tier. So the thing with Huns is their claim to fame is that you don't have to build houses. And that helps you not ever get housed, so you don't fall behind in villagers for that reason at least. Now, you do start off with a bit less wood than Huns, so the reason I'm discounting it a bit and putting it A tier is that even though it does help you save a lot of wood, it doesn't really kick in terms of savings until later in feudal, and actually not being able to house wall in your economy can hurt you defensively and actually leave your economy kind of exposed. So I think overall it's A tier. It's still a very good economy, but it's not as over. I still don't think it's in the category of those S tier civs. All right, next up we have the Incas, and Incas I'm going to put in the B tier. I think Incan economy is pretty underrated. You start off with an extra llama, so you're getting that extra food bump. Your houses hold double the population, so that's really nice actually for allowing your villagers to go do other things and not have to build so many houses. You have a stone discount on your buildings, so not just town centers, but towers and castles. Saving that stone is nice. More of a late game bonus. I mean, basically, with Incas, you have a lot of little small bonuses. None of which are really breaking the game open, but it's like you combine them all together. And, I don't know, it just gets really interesting with the Incas. I mean, your farms seed a bit faster. I guess that's a fourth bonus. Again, it's just like you have a bunch of small... It's like you reach in your pocket and you pull out some change, and it's like, well, once you have, like a couple quarters, some dimes, a nickel, right? Well, maybe you can afford a drink at the vending machine. That's nice, right? Especially when you're thirsty. But as I'm thirsty right now and I'm going to hydrate. Thank you, Incas. But it's just not a great bonus. So I don't think it gets them into the A tier. It's nice. It's good. It helps you, but not game breaking. Okay, next up is the Indians. And the Indians do have a pretty nice economy. Gotta be S tier for me. You get cheaper villagers. And in Age of Empires, you're always making villagers. So it's going to help you whether you're booming, whether you're making military. It doesn't matter what you're doing. This is helping you. And not only that, but you do get the Sultan's tech that you can research in Castle Age that increases all of your sources of gold production. That can be pretty cool too, actually. You do see it researched every now and then, and it's very nice. So I still think that they'd be an S tier civ economically without it because the cheaper villagers are just so strong. But the fact that you didn't get another bump, that's pretty cool. Okay, next up we get the Italians. And I think Italians are going to be another one of these B tier eco civs. I think Italians are actually a bit underrated economically. You have a faster age up. Well, excuse me. You have a 15% discount on advancing in each age, which usually allows you to age up, say, a villager to faster. Well, maybe a villager to go from dark age to feudal. Maybe a couple villagers to go from feudal to castle. My point, right, is that this really enables you to do some openings a bit more quickly and get that edge on your opponents. But you also have cheaper dock technologies, which is fantastic. I mean, it's S tier on water maps. I'm not including that much in water maps because you just don't see them played a lot. But just know if you're on a water map, Italians are an S tier civ. But you also have cheaper university technologies, and this is really nice because with Italians, you're probably making a lot of crossbows, so you do have a good stable. But regardless, if you're making a lot of crossbows, technologies like ballistics and chemistry are kind of expensive, and being able to reduce the cost on those, and I think it's 33%, it's a really nice bonus. So I think it's a B tier, and I'd be willing to even say maybe even borderline A tier. I just don't think that the age up bonus I think it gives you an edge on opponents, but not a massive edge. So still a little bit behind, but still a good bonus. Okay, next up, right, we're going to stay in the B tier here. And the Japanese, right? Your big land bonus is that your resource camps cost minus 50%. I think it's a top 5 early game bonus. It enables you to do some really, really fast uptimes. But in the late game, it barely matters. So you got to kind of discount it there. Now, you do have a fishing ship bonus where they collect faster and have more HP. I mean, Japanese in hybrid maps or water maps, I think, are S tier. But that fishing ship bonus is going to be useless on a map like Arabia. So I'm discounting the water maps pretty heavily, including some of the hybrid maps here because you do see those a decent bit. Right? Again, I'd say it's kind of like Italians. I think it's a borderline A tier economy, actually. But it really is more just a really strong early game economy for the most part, the way it tends to play out. So still really good, though. Still really good. Okay. Next up, we have the Khmer. Khmer economy is quite strong. It's got to be S tier. Got to be S tier. Khmer don't need to build any buildings to age up. That enables you to get some incredible uptimes, some great wood savings. It's fantastic. But not only that, your farmers don't have to drop off their food at a mill or a town center. They just do it immediately, which gives you fantastic food collection as Khmer. Easy S tier civ, right? Maybe close even to Burgundians in some way, just the gold generation you can get on those Burgundian farms and it's just, anyways, not to talk about Burgundians, we're talking about Khmer, right? Khmer, easy S tier. Okay, next up we have the Koreans. Koreans for me got to go in the D tier. You mine stone faster. That's usually not that impactful of an early game bonus. Maybe for some kind of really fast tower rush, but again, that's more of a military strategy. So I think on closed maps, or say if you're going for a castle drop strategy to make war wagons. That's nice. And now, speaking of that, you do get a 20% wood discount on your units. I really like that discount. I think it's pretty underrated. Koreans, you're probably making some kind of archer unit that costs wood, so it's good, but it's just not incredibly strong to me. And the stone bonus isn't helping you out in a lot of circumstances, so yeah, I gotta say D tier. Next up, we have the Lithuanians. Lithuanians, I gotta put them into the C tier. So you really only get one bonus, and that is that you start off with 150 food. This is fantastic for your opening. I mean, Lithuanians can have some of the fastest openings in the game. Things like 18 pop scouts, easy 20 pop men-at-arms. There's even a such thing as a 3-minute Lithuanian militia drush that can be really annoying to deal with. But you don't have any eco upgrades after that. And so it can help you get a nice jump on your opponent in feudal age, but that's about it. So I think that's C tier. Right? You can really fall behind economically in the mid game with Lithuanians. Okay, next up are the Magyars, and I love this civ, but it's an F tier economy. You do get free attack upgrades at the blacksmith, which is great if you're making melee units, but you might even not be making that many melee units with Magyars, because you may be going cav archers. Getting forging is nice for your scouts. I mean, it is. You do get cheaper scouts as well, but again, you have to be making them. I don't know. You kill wolves in one shot, right? If I ever start a band, I'm gonna call it one shot wolf kill. I'm just throwing that out here now. So it's my band's name. All that being said, I just don't think it's enough. I mean, if you go men-at-arms into archers, and the men-at-arms meta is just so dominant right now on Arabia, you're really not getting any eco bonus with this civ. Right? I mean, okay, you're saving some on forging, but men-at-arms just become so obsolete by really kind of like even early feudal at times. So I mean, definitely by mid feudal, if archers get on the field, I think it's got to be an F tier compared to all of the other economies, right? Because again, a tier list is in many ways a relative ranking. It's an F tier economy. Okay, next up, we have the Malay. Malay are going to go in the B tier. You go through the ages faster. That can enable you to get some really nice times. I think for pro players on closed maps, it's insanely strong. But if you're somebody like me, and probably most of us out there, at kind of a mid-elo and intermediate level, or even a low elo level, the age up bonus is probably going to cause you even more headaches than anything. I think it's kind of like the Italian bonus, actually, but kind of reversed, where the Italians save a little bit so you can get up a bit more quickly with less villagers for faster openings. And I think for Malay, you are getting more villagers, but you're trying to mostly hit the same timings. You can get some timings that are a little bit quicker, but I think it's more getting excess villagers is where it's really helping you, and that's why it's so strong on closed maps. So I think it's B tier. I think it's a good economic bonus, just not the best. Okay, next we have the Malians. Malians are really, really interesting here. I think Malians, for me, go into the A tier. Because you get a 15% wood discount on buildings. That's really good. And then very recently, their gold bonus was changed to your gold mines last 30% longer. And that's really more of a late game bonus, but I actually think it's a pretty strong late game bonus because, with Malians, have me 30% more gold. That's a lot more gold. So you can keep making gold units more than your opponent, and there really is something to be said for that. Now, if you get pushed off of gold, you're not taking advantage of it. But if you're getting pushed off of gold, you're in a bad situation anyways. And the 15% wood discount, I think, is really strong. It can able to get to, not like extremely sick up times or anything like that, but it can allow you to go, say, like 21 pop minute arms pretty decently. So I like it. It's an A tier economy civ. Okay, next up. Next up, Mayans and S tier civ. You start off with an extra vill. That's super cool. Your resources, all of your resources last longer. So, I mean, this is pretty cool, actually. It definitely helps you in the late game, but the fact that resources last longer can help in like really small ways, in that you might not be reseeding farms as much or something. Well, does it affect their farms? I can't remember, but let's say something like your lumber camps, right? You're chopping wood, you might not chop the trees as fast, so you may not get those holes in your walls. It's pretty good. Oh, and they have cheaper walls too, which that's a nice bonus as well. So I think, yeah, I think I think they're two really strong bonuses. I think you got to put them into the S tier. Oh, and you get really cheaper archers too. Oh my gosh, and you're almost certainly making archers with Mayans. Yeah, easy S tier. Okay, next stop, the Mongols. And the Mongols, it's really like the Lithuanians, and they're going to be hanging out together. The Mongols consume hunt faster. It makes for a really, really great opening and getting those early up times. It just doesn't matter after that. So you fall behind in the mid game. Okay, now the Persians. Persians are really interesting too. I think it's a B tier economy. So it's, you start off with 50 extra food and wood, and I think it's kind of underrated actually. It allows you to have a nice smooth gameplay, and particularly if you're at like a mid elo level, and let's say you're luring in a deer, sometimes you might have a little bit of idle time at the TC. Come on, folks, we all been there. But having that extra food enabling you to queue up one extra villager, it can kind of cover for some of those weaknesses. And having the extra food, if you decide to go up a little bit more quickly, you're going to have the food to get things down. I really like it. I think it's quite helpful. But the other thing with Persians is that your town centers work faster. And that really helps you with your boom. It can slow down night production a bit in early Castle Age. That is true. But it's one of those things you can maybe even get through the ages a bit faster, or you can get through the age at the same time, but maybe have an extra villager or two. So it's not bad. I think it's pretty good. So, some people might consider being able to remove the gold cost on the crossbows as a kind of eco bonus. I mean, you do have to pay extra wood for it. I don't know. Maybe in a way it is. I'm always surprised we don't see the trash bow more often with with the Persians. I think it's a nice. I think it's a unit with actually quite a bit of utility. Maybe that's a subject for some kind of unit breakdown video. Leave a comment actually if you'd like to see some kind of unit breakdown video with something like the trash bow, or maybe just that kind of video in general. But yeah, I think it's a B tier economy, right? Pretty good. Not necessarily game breaking though. The Poles. Oh, the Poles. This is tricky. This is really tricky. I'm going to say A tier. I think a lot of people would say S tier. And don't get me wrong, it's really strong, right? So with the Poles, you have a unique building, the Folwark, which costs 125 wood. It replaces your mill. It also gives you a population space. And your farms built around it drop off 10% of their food immediately, and it could help you get some really, really nice food collection. Not only that, your stone miners generate gold, which is crazy. So, That enables you to do some interesting builds, enables you to get to castles faster, it enables you to get more gold. Definitely A tier. I think on closed maps, it's kind of like Bohemians. On closed maps, I think Poles have an S tier economy, right? And it's one of the reasons why on maps like Arena, both Bohemians and Poles, very strong. But on Arabia, and especially a really open Arabia, to take advantage of the full work bonus, the trade-off is that you kind of have to expose your villagers to possible early pressure from an opponent, or just really wall up. Because that full work bonus is probably coming more in Feudal Age. Because you don't want to seed farms necessarily in Dark Age, because you want to research Horsecaller so your farms drop off a greater amount of food. So I think that fact means that it's got to go into A tier. It can be very, very strong, though. If the Poles get going, they can be really, really difficult to stop. So A tier, pretty good. Okay, next up we have the Portuguese. Portuguese are super, super interesting to me. I think Portuguese are C tier, but they're a weird C tier. So you get a 20% gold discount on all of your units, right? Knights, archers, monks, siege, etc. It's a really useful bonus because you're going to be making gold units in the game, right? But if you're trying to boom or something like that, it's not helping you, right? So it's not really turboing your economy at all. It enables you to do some interesting things, but it's not massive. I think it winds up being more of a military bonus than anything, in that you can do double gold compositions where other civilizations might not have the economy to do it at all. So I would say Portuguese to me are... Oh, wait, but there's also the Victoria. Kind of a late game unit, though. And you research technologies faster. These are a lot of little bonuses. You know what? Portuguese, I hereby promote you to B tier. Because when you think about, right, the gold discount can help you get more gold units out, so you don't need as many gold miners. You can put them on other things. The fact that you research technologies faster, right? Wheelbarrow basically is like getting an extra villager in a feudal age. Helpful, not major. The gold bonus, helpful, but not major. Really helps you maybe more in the late game when you'll have gold and your opponent won't. But then be able to put down Fetorias. In Imperial Age, Fetorias generate resources. So you can get into situations with Portuguese. You know, you drop down a Feitoria or two in late game. It's obviously not enough to be an A tier civ. So maybe one of the weaker B tier economies. I'd be willing to go out on that limb. I think Portuguese are... Portuguese have the lowest win rate in the game. I think they're a really underrated civilization. That's my opinion. But, yeah, it's just my opinion. What do other people think? Okay, hydrating again. Next up, we have the Saracens. Ooh, Saracens are neat. Saracens, I think Saracens are a B tier eco. It all comes down to their market bonus, right? And how it's used. You can get some really nice power spikes with it. And so it can be a great feudal and castle age bonus. I mean, a really good feudal and castle age bonus. Saracens are pretty dominant in Empire Wars for this reason. It's a good bonus. I like it. I like it a lot. And it can be really helpful in team games when you're in the archer player role. So it's strong. I don't think it breaks the game open. I do think in Empire Wars it can be a pretty game-breaking bonus and really change how your opponent plays. I mean, basically, if you're up against Saracens in an Empire Wars mode, you really need to, you kind of have to just not make military, get your own market up, and just try to beeline it to castle age yourself, and maybe rely on the fact that you have some other eco bonus, like if you're Indians, maybe cheaper villagers or something, that you can get up a little bit faster and just kind of match Saracens. But it's a really good bonus in Empire Wars. Could be a really nice bonus in team games. Your markets also cost less, which is pretty good too. So I think they're only 75 wood. But usually building one, I mean, in 1v1s, in team games, you're putting down a few more markets. So, yeah, I think Saracens are a B tier. I also forgot to mention about Italians is that their Imperial Age technology, which is not very expensive, really decreases the price of their trade carts, which is a fantastic team game bonus, right? Italians are a really underrated team game sip, I think. So, anyways, moving on to the Sicilians. And I think Sicilians are also a B tier economy. Now, I think that whereas I think that the Saracen bonus can kind of fade off, Sicilians really just get stronger in the game, and I think that in say mid castle to Imperial Age, I actually think they're an S tier economy because your farm upgrades give you double the food. Your town centers are built 100% faster, which means that you're getting villagers out more, which means your villagers aren't exposed more. You have 100 extra stone you start off with. The thing with Saracens, you have a pretty generic Dark Age, and it's really like early to mid castle age where you're really starting to get those wood savings. But right, you those wood savings are really really good because you just get so much food from the farm upgrades. So it's really synergistic with the town center building faster because you can save so much wood and you can get to 4 or 5 town centers pretty easy with the Sicilians. I mean, pretty easy. It's a much stronger bonus compared to say the Bulgarians bonus. So, and you start off with 100 extra stone. So it's pretty nice, right? You can sell that stone at the market if you need to, or you can use it to go 4 TCs a bit quickly. So I say B tier, but very strong economy later on. Slavs, S tier. Your farmers work faster. That's pretty cool, right? Helps you really at all phases in the game. Not as much of a Dark Age bonus, but you can actually feel the strength of this bonus, I think, in early Feudal Age if you're going for, say, scouts and you're putting farms down. So, and you do get free supplies. It's okay. But it's really, even though you have a pretty generic Dark Age, this is actually helping you in early Feudal Age. So I think it's enough to give them an S tier eco. And it really, your mid game is just so fantastic with Slavs. Yeah, I'd say it's really good. Okay, next up, Spanish. Put these things in alphabetical order. Spanish, you're going into the F tier for me. Your blacksmith upgrades don't cost gold, but blacksmith upgrades really aren't that gold intensive. I mean, they only start even costing gold. I mean, well, fletching costs a little bit of gold in Feudal Age, but otherwise it's Castle Age when it's starting. You build buildings faster. It might save you a little bit of work time, but not a lot. It's an easy F tier for me. Okay, next up we have the Tatars. I think Tatars are also kind of a B tier. So your sheep last longer, and every time you build a new town center, you get 2 more sheep, which is good if you are putting up new town centers. These are okay food bonuses. They can help you delay farms a bit. They're not really saving you wood, but they are allowing your time to just get more lumberjacks. I think they're more smooth, helpful bonuses than anything else. So they're good, but not game breaking. Next up, we have the Teutons. I'm going to say Teutons are A tier. 40% discount is great on farms. Saves you a lot of wood. Pretty generic Dark Age, though. I mean, that's the problem. Your Dark Age is pretty generic. It's a little like Slavs, but I'd rather have the faster farming rate. and get the wood faster to get up to the next age faster, right? It's nice to have the extra wood as Teutons, but the food is what's helping you get up to the next age. So that's why Slavs are S tier and Teutons are A tier, in my book. Next up, we have the Turks. Turks got to go in the C tier. You do have faster gold miners, which is, I think, pretty helpful for, especially for castle age aggression. And if you want to, get lots of cavalry archers or knights or camels going. The free scout upgrades for Turks is really nice too, because your trash units suck, except for your hussars, which are like top 3 hussars. So you're probably going to be making a lot of them at some point at least. But using up your gold faster kind of puts this civ on a timer, and the trash units are so bad that you already are kind of on a timer. And it's not helping you that much in Dark Age. It kind of helps you in Feudal if you're going for the gold unit. I just think it's a C tier. Yeah, it's a C tier to me. It's decent. And I would say it's C borderline D tier economy. I mean, but I think it's got to be C tier because the faster gold mining really does enable you to do some weird strategies on Arena and other closed maps. And so it does open up your strategy profile a bit. So C tier, and that's about it. Next up is Vietnamese. All right, we're making it through this tier list. Vietnamese for me is interesting. I'm going to say Vietnamese is also B tier, right? A lot of B tier civs, which makes sense. You save a wood cost on your eco upgrades. It's a nice bonus. It's a smooth bonus because you need to get eco upgrades anyways, and so it'll help you keep your archer production going because they have more wood. You might say that seeing the enemy's base is kind of an eco bonus for laming them. But I still think it doesn't push them into the A tier, though. Right? It's a B tier eco civ. Good, not great. Okay, last but not least, we have the Vikings. And, Vikings, you're only getting free wheelbarrow and handcart. It's one of the best bonuses in the game, actually. Your villagers just get so productive. And yeah, you have a generic Dark Age. And that kind of sucks. And on water maps, your docks cost less and your warships cost less. Which on water maps, I mean, this civ is very, very S tier if you're making a navy. But even on land maps, it's S tier because free wheelbarrow and handcart is so strong. Extremely strong. So that's the video, right? Taking a look at where we are. You can see, most civs in the game have a pretty decent economy, right? A lot of B tier civs at the top. Then there are some civs that just have really strong. I mean, the S tier is pretty big, actually. But when I look at it and the civs that are in it, I don't think that there's any that I would take and demote. I mean, if I had to take any civ and demote them, maybe Slavs I'd take out. Maybe Britons, but I like all of them in there. I like the A tier civs. For the B tier, I like them too. So yeah, I like the tier list, and I hope you like this tier list as well. I hope you've liked that video. If you haven't liked and subscribed already, go ahead. If you've made it to the end of this video, you owe it to yourself, right, to follow us along on this journey. But with that, I'm going to end this video. It's been a little bit of a long one, but again, a lot of discussion necessary for this tier list. And with that, hey, I'll see you guys out there on the ladder.